The massive alien ship appeared without warning at the edge of Earth's solar system. It was larger than anything humans had ever built, a dark shape that blocked out the stars behind it. More ships followed, until a fleet of over 100 vessels formed a line just beyond Neptune's orbit. Captain Eric Mason stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiant, Earth's most advanced warship. His heart beat faster as he watched the alien fleet on the main screen. Even with all of Earth's combined military might, they would be no match for this force. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Becky Turner, her fingers moving quickly across her communications panel. "It's on all frequencies and in every language on Earth." "Put it through," ordered Mason. The screen flickered, revealing a tall, slender being with iridescent blue skin and 4 yellow eyes. When it spoke, its voice was deep and had a strange musical quality. "People of Earth, I am Lord Zirketh, ambassador of the Akrelian Empire. Your primitive civilization has been noticed by our scouts. The Emperor has graciously decided to bring you under his protection. Submit to Imperial rule or face extinction. You have 48 Earth hours to decide." The transmission ended abruptly. The bridge fell silent. "Get me Secretary General Rodriguez," Mason said. Within hours, the United Earth government called an emergency meeting in New Geneva. Leaders from every nation gathered in the Grand Council chamber. Secretary General Olivia Rodriguez, a stern woman with silver-streaked black hair, stood at the central podium. "The alien fleet has not moved closer," she said. "Our scientists believe their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. Dr. Wright, please share your findings." Dr. Samantha Wright, the world's foremost xenolinguist, stepped forward. She was young for her position, barely 30, with short brown hair and intense focus in her eyes. "The language patterns suggest a civilization at least 15,000 years old," she explained. "They call themselves the Akrelians. Based on their transmission, they control most of the galaxy and regularly absorb less advanced species into their empire." Admiral Joseph Carter, a tall man with dark skin and a completely bald head, spoke next. "Our combined fleet is no match for their forces. If we fight, we will lose." Ambassador William Howard, a slender man with graying red hair, offered another perspective. "We should negotiate. Perhaps we can secure favorable terms." The council debated for hours. Some wanted to fight, others to surrender. In the end, they decided to attempt negotiations first. The next day, Ambassador Howard met with Lord Zirketh on a neutral space station orbiting Earth's moon. The meeting was broadcast to every screen on Earth. "The United Earth government welcomes peaceful relations with the Akrelian Empire," Howard began. "We hope to establish mutually beneficial—" "You misunderstand," interrupted Zirketh. "This is not a negotiation between equals. These are our terms." The alien presented a list of demands. Earth would surrender 40% of all resources as tribute. Human population growth would be strictly controlled. 90% of Earth's military would be dismantled. Akrelian governors would rule all human worlds. "This is not acceptable," Howard said firmly. "We offer friendship, not servitude." Zirketh's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "Your species is young and arrogant. Perhaps you need a demonstration of imperial power." 6 hours later, Phobos, the innermost moon of Mars, exploded. The Akrelian fleet had destroyed it with a single energy beam. 75,000 colonists died instantly. Earth watched in horror as the debris rained down on the Martian surface. The message was clear: submit or be destroyed. Captain Mason watched the destruction from the bridge of the Defiant. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair until his knuckles turned white. "Captain," said Lieutenant Turner, her voice shaking, "we're receiving an emergency broadcast from Secretary General Rodriguez. On screens across Earth and throughout the solar system, Rodriguez addressed humanity, citizens of Earth and her colonies. Today we witnessed an act of unprovoked violence against innocent people. The Akrelian Empire has shown that it offers not protection, but slavery. They demand we surrender our resources, our sovereignty, and our future. They expect us to kneel." She paused, her face resolute. "Humanity does not kneel. Not to tyrants, not to bullies, and not to empires that mistake our youth for weakness. We have voted unanimously. As of this moment, Earth is at war with the Akrelian Empire. On the Defiant, Captain Mason turned to his crew. Battle stations. All ships form up on our position. Earth's fleet of 50 warships moved into defensive formation around the planet. They were outmatched in every way, but they would fight. The first battle was brief and devastating. Akrelian weapons cut through Earth's best defenses like they were made of paper. 23 human ships were destroyed in the first hour. The Defiant survived, but with heavy damage. Dr. Wright worked tirelessly in her laboratory, analyzing every piece of data from the battle. Their communications during the fight reveal something interesting, she told Mason over a secure channel. They're surprised by our resistance. No species has ever refused their terms before. Fat lot of good it's doing us, Mason replied, looking at the casualty reports. Maybe not, Wright said. But I found something else. Their ships emit a specific energy signature before firing their main weapons. With some adjustments to our sensors, we might get a few seconds of warning, enough to evade. Send the specifications to all remaining ships, ordered Mason. In the next engagement, Earth's fleet lasted longer. They still lost ships, but they damaged an Akrelian vessel for the first time. It wasn't a victory, but it was something. The Akrelians responded by attacking Mars colony. Governor Andrew Collins ordered an emergency evacuation, but only 30% of the colonists escaped before the colony fell. On Earth, Dr. Patricia Nelson led a team working day and night to understand the alien technology from recovered debris. Their energy weapons operate on principles we've theorized but never implemented, she explained to Admiral Carter. If we can adapt our own systems. Major Frank Bishop and his Special Forces team completed a daring raid on an Akrelian scout ship, capturing vital technology and a single alien prisoner. The risk was enormous, but the intelligence gained was invaluable. As the first month of war ended, Earth was losing badly. The orbital defense platforms were destroyed one by one. Major cities were targeted from orbit. Millions died, but humanity did not surrender. They adapted. They went underground. They learned from each defeat. They ordered Earth to kneel, Captain Mason told his crew, as they prepared for another desperate mission. But they're about to learn that humans would rather burn the galaxy to ash than live as slaves. The Defiant slipped away from Earth under cover of a new stealth system designed by Chief Engineer Lisa Martinez. Their destination, the heart of the Akrelian fleet. Their mission, impossible but necessary. The war for humanity's survival had only just begun. 6 months into the war, Earth was a changed planet. Cities lay in ruins. Billions of people lived underground in hastily built bunkers and tunnel systems. The surface was too dangerous, constantly watched by Akrelian ships. Major Frank Bishop crawled through the rubble of what used to be Chicago. His team of 5 Special Forces soldiers moved silently behind him. They all wore adaptive camouflage suits designed to hide them from alien scanners. Target is 300 meters ahead, whispered Sergeant Linda Kelly, checking the small device on her wrist. Alien patrol, 4 soldiers and one of their walker machines. Bishop nodded. Remember, we need their communication device intact. Set weapons to stun patterns. The human resistance had learned quickly that direct confrontation was suicide. They couldn't win with brute force. They needed to be smarter. Bishop's team surrounded the patrol and attacked from all sides at once. The fight was quick and nearly silent. 4 Akrelian soldiers lay unconscious. The walker, a 4-legged machine with mounted weapons, stood frozen as Corporal Paul Duncan removed its control module. Package secured, Bishop said into his communicator. Heading to extraction point. 30 kilometers away in a massive underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Patricia Nelson waited for Bishop's team to return. Her laboratory was filled with alien technology, each piece carefully studied and tested. They're on their way back, said Colonel Ryan Parker, entering her lab. He was a tall man with sharp features and quick eyes that missed nothing. Did you finish the analysis on the last batch? Nelson pushed her glasses up and nodded. Yes. I think we found something important. The Acrelian shields have a fluctuation cycle. It's tiny, just milliseconds, but it's there. Can we exploit it? Parker asked. Maybe. If we could time our weapons to hit at exactly the right moment in the cycle. She didn't finish the sentence, but her eyes shone with possibility. Colonel, Parker left to organize the next mission. In another part of the underground complex, Chief Engineer Lisa Martinez worked with her team on modifying human ships. The new stealth system worked on the Defiant, she told her assistant. But it used too much power. We need to make it more efficient before we can install it on other ships. Martinez hadn't slept properly in days. None of them had. They were racing against time, trying to find a way to fight back before the Acrelians wiped out what remained of humanity. In orbit around Jupiter, hidden in the gas giant's strong magnetic field, Captain Eric Mason and the Defiant waited. The ship had been heavily modified, its hull now covered with a material that absorbed Acrelian scanning signals. Status report, Mason ordered. Lieutenant Becky Turner looked up from her console. All systems nominal, Captain. The alien fleet is maintaining position around Earth and Mars. They haven't detected us. And our special package? Dr. Nelson's new targeting system is installed and calibrated. It should allow us to hit them during shield fluctuations. Mason nodded. Good. We only get one shot at this. If it works, we finally have a weapon against them. Humanity had scattered throughout the solar system. Small groups hid on moons, in asteroid belts, and in deep space stations. Earth's surviving ships had been modified and hidden. They were preparing for something the Acrelians would never expect. A counterattack. On Mars, the situation was dire. The Acrelians had established a main base in the ruins of Olympus City. Governor Andrew Collins led the resistance from hidden tunnels originally built for mining. The aliens are setting up some kind of massive weapon, reported Susan Miller, one of his scouts. It's pointed at Earth. Collins frowned. We need to get this information to command. Sending messages was dangerous. The Acrelians monitored all communications. But humanity had developed new methods, using quantum entanglement devices salvaged from research labs. The message reached Earth's underground command center within minutes. Admiral Joseph Carter reviewed the report with growing concern. They're building a planet killer, he told Secretary General Rodriguez. If they use it, Earth is finished. Rodriguez's face remained calm, though her eyes showed her fear. How much time do we have? 2 weeks, maybe less. Then we move forward with Operation First Strike immediately, she decided. Contact all hidden ships. It's time. Throughout the solar system, Earth's surviving vessels received the coded message. The plan they had worked on for months was finally in motion. On the Defiant, Captain Mason addressed his crew. Today, we stop running. Today, we show the Acrelians that humanity fights back. Dr. Nelson's targeting system was installed on every ship. Martinez's stealth technology allowed them to approach undetected. Colonel Parker's battle plan was precise and detailed. Major Bishop and his teams were ready to board and capture key enemy vessels. The attack began at Earth's dawn. 20 human ships, appearing suddenly from hiding, struck the Acrelian fleet from multiple directions. Their weapons, precisely timed to hit during shield fluctuations, caused real damage for the first time. The Acrelians were caught completely by surprise. They had grown overconfident, believing humans were nearly defeated. 3 alien ships were destroyed in the first wave of attacks. On Mars, Governor Collins and his resistance fighters sabotaged the planet killer weapon, causing it to explode and take out the main Acrelian base. The aliens responded with fury, but their coordination was disrupted by Bishop's team, who had captured a communications hub. For crucial hours, the Acrelian fleet was in chaos. When the battle ended, Earth had won its first real victory. 7 alien ships destroyed, 4 damaged and retreating. The human fleet lost 5 vessels, but the sacrifice was worth it. They had proven the Acrelians could be hurt. This is just the beginning, Admiral Carter told his commanders after the battle. We've shown them we can fight. Now we prepare for their response. That response came 3 days later. The main Acrelian fleet, 10 times larger than the force that had been orbiting Earth, arrived from deep space. At their head was a ship larger than any seen before. On its bridge stood Supreme Commander Vexstar, one of the Emperor's most trusted generals. He had been sent to end the human problem once, and for all. These primitives dare to challenge the Empire, he told his officers. We will crush them completely and make an example of their world. The humans watched the massive fleet arrive with grim determination. They had hurt the Empire. Now the real war would begin. In her laboratory, Dr. Nelson worked feverishly on her newest project. If she could complete it in time, humanity might have a chance. Not just to survive, but to take the fight to the enemy's home. The project had a simple name: Phoenix. Because from the ashes of Earth's destruction, humanity would rise again, bringing fire to the stars. 3 years passed. Earth was barely recognizable. Most of the surface was scorched and barren. The Acrelians had established bases in the ruins of major cities. They believed they had won. They were wrong. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, in a massive underwater facility built before the war, Admiral Karen Foster stood before a holographic map of the solar system. Red dots showed Acrelian positions. Blue dots showed the remaining human forces. There were far fewer blue than red. The Phoenix Project is ready, announced Dr. Patricia Nelson, entering the command center. She looked older now, her face lined with exhaustion, but her eyes still burned with determination. Admiral Foster nodded. Show me. They walked through the facility to an enormous hangar bay. There, floating in a construction dock, was a ship unlike any built before. It was sleek, black and dangerous looking. The EDS Vengeance, Nelson said proudly. First of the Phoenix class. It incorporates everything we've learned from Acrelian technology. But the real breakthrough is the drive system. Foster looked at the scientist. It works? Truly? Yes. We've tested it in secret. It's faster than anything the Acrelians have, and it can do something their ships can't. Jump directly from within a planet's gravity well. For the first time in years, Foster smiled. How many can we build? 5 more are nearly complete, hidden in facilities around the solar system. Foster touched her comm device. Get me Captain Daniel Garcia. It's time. Captain Garcia was a pilot of extraordinary skill. He had flown countless dangerous missions against the Acrelians and survived. Now he stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, the most advanced ship humanity had ever built. All systems ready, Captain, reported his second-in-command lieutenant, Pete Miller. Garcia took a deep breath. Initiate Phoenix drive. The ship hummed with power. Outside, the water began to churn. Then, in a flash of blue-white light, the Vengeance disappeared from Earth. It reappeared near Saturn, right behind an Acrelian patrol fleet. Before the aliens could react, the Vengeance fired its new weapons. 3 enemy ships exploded. The others tried to flee, but the human vessel was faster, hunting them down one by one. For the first time, an Acrelian fleet was completely destroyed without a single human casualty. On the Acrelian command ship orbiting Earth, Supreme Commander Vexstar received the news with disbelief. Impossible, he growled. These primitives cannot have such technology. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Zarlek, looked nervous. The patrol fleet was completely destroyed. The attacker used a method of faster-than-light travel we've never seen before. Vexidar slammed his fist on the table. Find this ship. Destroy it. But the Vengeance was already gone, jumping to another part of the solar system to strike again. Within weeks, 5 more Phoenix ships joined the fight. They appeared without warning, struck hard, and vanished before the Acrelians could respond. For the first time, the aliens began to feel fear. On Mars, the Resistance saw their opportunity. Governor Andrew Collins coordinated with Admiral Foster for a bold plan. Retake the Red Planet. As Phoenix ships attacked Acrelian positions in orbit, Major Frank Bishop led ground forces against the main enemy base. The fighting was fierce, but humanity had surprise and desperation on their side. By the end of the battle, the Acrelian flag over Olympus City was replaced with Earth's banner. Mars was free again. The news spread through the human resistance. After years of hiding and running, they were fighting back and winning. More people joined the cause. Hidden factories built weapons and ships. The tide was turning. But the true game-changer came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Grace Johnson had spent a year undercover on an Akrelian ship, posing as a human collaborator. She returned with critical intelligence. "The Empire is not as united as they want us to believe," she told Admiral Foster and Dr. Kevin Mitchell, the leading expert on Akrelian psychology. "There are at least 12 other species they've conquered. Many are on the verge of rebellion." Dr. Mitchell leaned forward. "Did you make contact with any of them?" Johnson nodded. "The Viridians. They've been under Akrelian rule for a century. They're ready to fight if they see a chance of winning." Foster's eyes gleamed. "And we're going to show them that chance." The plan was audacious. The 6 Phoenix ships would jump beyond the solar system into Akrelian territory. They would contact the subjugated species and offer an alliance. Together they would strike at the heart of the Empire. Captain Garcia led the mission. The Vengeance jumped farther than any human ship had ever gone, arriving in the Viridian system. The Viridians, tall, 4-armed beings with silver skin, were initially cautious. "How do we know you can defeat the Akrelians?" asked their leader, High Commander Selvari. "They have ruled the galaxy for millennia." Garcia showed him recordings of the recent battles. "They thought humans would kneel. We chose to fight instead. Join us, and together we can end their tyranny." The Viridians agreed, and with them came others. The insectoid Tsar, the aquatic Morai, the crystalline Talari, and the ghostly Foren. 5 species united with humanity against their common oppressor. The coalition of the oppressed was born. When the Phoenix fleet returned to Earth, they brought allies and hope. For the first time, Admiral Foster addressed all of humanity and their new allies together. "Today marks a turning point. We are no longer alone in our fight. The Akrelian Empire thought they could subjugate us as they did others. They were wrong. Together we will not just drive them from our worlds. We will bring the fight to theirs." Supreme Commander Vexdar received the news of the coalition with rage. He ordered his entire fleet to Earth. This human rebellion would be crushed once and for all. The 2 forces met in the space between Earth and Mars. The largest fleet battle in human history began. Phoenix ships darted between larger Akrelian vessels, causing chaos. Viridian warships attacked from the flanks. Morai ships ambushed from hiding places in the asteroid belt. At the battle's center, the Vengeance faced Vexadar's command ship. The 2 vessels exchanged devastating fire. The Vengeance was heavily damaged, but Captain Garcia refused to retreat. "All power to forward weapons," he ordered. "Let's show them how humans fight." The Vengeance rammed the Akrelian flagship at full speed, its Phoenix drive creating a massive energy discharge. Both ships were destroyed, but Vexadar died with them. Without their commander, the Akrelian fleet fell into disarray. The coalition pressed their advantage. By the battle's end, Earth's orbit was clear of enemy ships for the first time in years. As the survivors celebrated their victory, Admiral Foster stood silently looking at the stars. They had won a great battle, but the war was far from over. The Akrelian Empire spanned thousands of worlds. The Emperor would send more ships, more commanders. But now humanity had allies, technology, and most importantly, hope. They would not just defend their world, they would take the fight to the enemy's home. On a view screen, Foster watched as construction began on 20 new Phoenix ships. This time, they would be built for one purpose: to strike at the heart of the Akrelian Empire. The humans who were ordered to kneel were now standing tall, ready to bring fire to the stars. 5 years into the war, the balance of power had shifted. The coalition fleet, led by humans and their alien allies, pushed deeper into Akrelian territory. System by system, planet by planet, they liberated worlds that had lived under imperial rule for centuries. Fleet Admiral Catherine Powell stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiance, now rebuilt and upgraded with Phoenix technology. She was the supreme commander of all coalition forces, a position she had earned through brilliant strategy and unwavering courage. Status report: she ordered. Commander Jack Bennett, her tactical officer, gestured at the holographic display. The Akrelians have pulled back to defend their core systems. They've established a defensive line here around the Tyrannus cluster. Powell studied the map carefully. The Akrelian Empire was still vast, but it was shrinking. Rebellions had broken out across dozens of worlds. The myth of imperial invincibility had been shattered. "What about Project Sunfire?" she asked. Bennett hesitated. "Dr. Harris reports it's ready for deployment, but Admiral, are we sure we want to use such a weapon?" Powell understood his concern. Project Sunfire was the most destructive weapon humans had ever created. Dr. Elizabeth Harris had developed it by combining human ingenuity with technology from all 5 allied species. It could trigger a controlled nova, destroying an entire star system. "We won't use it unless absolutely necessary," Powell assured him. "But the Emperor needs to know we have it." On Earth, the rebuilding had begun. Much of the planet was still, scarred by war, but humans were resilient. They emerged from underground bunkers and began to reclaim the surface. Green patches appeared among the scorched landscapes as new plants were grown from preserved seeds. Secretary General Olivia Rodriguez, now President of the United Human Systems, addressed the rebuilt United Nations in what had once been Geneva. 5. Years ago, the Akrelian Empire came to our world and demanded our submission. They expected us to kneel before their power. Instead, we fought back. Not just for ourselves, but for all beings who value freedom. Her speech was broadcast across Earth and to every coalition world. Billions of beings from 6 different species watched and listened. Today, I am proud to announce that our forces have liberated over 300 planets from Akrelian control. The coalition grows stronger each day. The Empire grows weaker. What she didn't say was that the hardest fighting still lay ahead. The Akrelians had retreated, but they were not defeated. They were gathering their strength around their homeworlds, preparing for a final stand. In deep space, far from any inhabited system, Dr. Elizabeth Harris prepared for the test of Project Sunfire. She was aboard a specially designed ship, accompanied only by essential personnel and heavily guarded by coalition warships. The target was a small, uninhabited star. The weapon was a probe, seemingly insignificant against the vast brightness of the sun. "Launch sequence initiated," Harris said, her voice steady despite the enormity of what they were about to do. The probe entered the star's outer layers. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the star began to pulse. Its surface bulged outward. Light and heat increased dramatically. "All ships, maximum distance," ordered the fleet commander. The coalition vessels jumped away as the star exploded in a controlled nova. When they returned hours later, nothing remained but expanding gas and radiation. The test was successful. Humanity now had the power to destroy stars. Word of the test reached the Akrelian Emperor, Zixthar, in his palace on the homeworld. He had ruled for over 3 centuries, overseeing the expansion of the empire to its greatest extent. Never had he imagined that a primitive species from a backwater planet could threaten everything he had built. "These humans must be eradicated completely," he told his war council. "Prepare the Worldbreaker fleet." The Worldbreaker was the Empire's ultimate weapon, capable of shattering a planet's crust and rendering it uninhabitable. They had used it rarely, only against the most stubborn resistance. Now they would use it against human colonies. On the frontier world of New Eden, the first human colony established outside the solar system, families went about their daily lives. The planet had been well defended, considered safe from Akrelian attack. They had no warning when the Worldbreaker appeared in orbit. The massive ship fired a beam of energy directly into the planet's core. Within hours, the surface began to break apart. Evacuation ships saved less than half the population before New Eden became a field of asteroids. 2 more human colonies suffered the same fate. The message was clear: surrender or watch your worlds die. Fleet Admiral Powell received the news with cold fury. "They've crossed a line," she told her commanders. "Prepare Operation Thunderstrike." Operation Thunderstrike was the most ambitious military campaign in human history. 50 coalition battle groups would attack 50 Akrelian worlds simultaneously. Not colony worlds or conquered planets, but worlds populated by the Akrelians themselves. Commander Bennett coordinated the complex logistics. General Alan Morris prepared ground forces, including multi-species combat teams. Ambassador Nicole Martinez worked tirelessly to bring more allies to their cause. The attack began on all fronts at once. Phoenix ships jumped directly into orbit around Akrelian worlds, bypassing defensive fleets. Special forces teams led by Commander Bennett targeted Imperial leadership. On the occupied world of Tyrus Prime, human and Viridian troops fought side by side, pushing back Akrelian forces. General Morris led from the front, inspiring his troops with courage and tactical brilliance. "Remember New Eden," became the battle cry of human soldiers. The fighting was brutal. The Akrelians fought with the desperation of those who had never imagined defeat. But the coalition forces had something stronger driving them: the memory of their destroyed worlds and the determination that such atrocities would never happen again. System by system, the Akrelian defenses crumbled. Their once mighty fleets scattered or surrendered. Imperial governors fled or were captured. Worlds that had lived under the yoke of empire for thousands of years tasted freedom for the first time. As the coalition forces approached the core worlds of the empire, Emperor Zixthar sent a final ultimatum: retreat or face the final solution. He threatened to destroy every world the coalition had liberated, killing trillions. Powell called an emergency meeting of the coalition leadership. "We cannot retreat," she said firmly. "If we show weakness now, everything we've fought for is lost." President Rodriguez agreed. "We must respond with a demonstration of our own, not against innocent worlds, but against the heart of the empire itself." The decision was made. Dr. Harris prepared 3 Sunfire devices. The targets were carefully chosen: uninhabited systems that served as major Akrelian military staging areas. When the stars of those systems erupted into novas, the message to the Empire was unmistakable: humans could destroy worlds too. The final phase of the war had begun. There would be no more restraint, no more mercy. The Empire that had ordered Earth to kneel would soon learn the full extent of human vengeance. Fleet Admiral Powell looked at the map of Akrelian space, now marked with the targets for the final offensive. At the center was Akrel Prime, the ET, homeworld of the species that had brought so much suffering to humanity. "All fleets prepare for jump," she ordered. "Our destination, the Akrelian home system." The largest coalition fleet ever assembled disappeared in flashes of blue-white light, bound for the heart of the Empire. The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin. 10 years had passed since the Akrelian Empire first appeared in Earth's solar system. 10 years of struggle, sacrifice, and transformation. What began as a desperate fight for survival had become a crusade to free the galaxy from Imperial rule. The coalition fleet emerged from hyperspace around Akrel Prime, the homeworld of the Empire. It was a beautiful planet with 3 moons and vast blue oceans. Hundreds of Akrelian ships formed a defensive line around their most precious world. Fleet Admiral Catherine Powell stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiance, now the flagship of humanity. Behind her came thousands of vessels from all 6 coalition species. This would be the final battle. "All ships, battle formation," she ordered. "Remember why we fight today. Not just for vengeance, but for freedom. Not just for our worlds, but for all worlds." The Akrelian fleet moved to engage. The space between the planets filled with energy beams, missiles, and explosions. Ships from both sides fell, becoming brief bright stars in the darkness. On Earth, President Laura Brooks watched the battle through real-time transmissions. She had replaced Rodriguez 2 years earlier, elected on a platform of rebuilding and looking to the future. But first, the war had to end. "Any word from Grand Admiral Miller?" she asked her aide. "His fleet is in position on the far side of the system," the aide replied. "The Akrelians don't know they're there." Brooks nodded. This was the plan they had worked on for months. While Powell's fleet engaged the main Akrelian force, Grand Admiral Jason Miller would lead a smaller, faster group to bypass the defenses and strike directly at the Imperial Palace. In orbit above Akrel Prime, The Kiu battle raged. The coalition forces pushed forward, taking heavy losses but inflicting even greater damage on the Imperial fleet. The Phoenix ships darted between larger vessels, their superior speed and maneuverability proving decisive. Commander Jack Bennett led a squadron of 20 ships on a daring attack run against the Akrelian flagship. "Form up," he ordered his pilots. "Target their main power systems." The flagship, 3 times the size of any human vessel, turned its weapons on Bennett's squadron. 5 Phoenix ships were destroyed in seconds, but the others broke through, launching specialized missiles directly into the flagship's engine section. The massive ship exploded, taking dozens of nearby vessels with it. A cheer went up across the coalition fleet. The Akrelians began to fall back, their formation breaking. On the far side of the planet, Grand Admiral Miller's fleet dropped out of hyperspace. They faced minimal resistance, most of the Akrelian forces having been drawn to the main battle. "All ships, commence landing operations," Miller ordered. "Ground forces, prepare for deployment." Hundreds of dropships descended toward the Akrelian capital city. Leading them was General Alan Morris, commander of all coalition ground forces. His troops were the best from all 6 species, trained to work together seamlessly. "Remember, our target is the Imperial Palace," Morris told them, as their ships cut through the atmosphere. "We capture the Emperor alive if possible." The Akrelians had never imagined their homeworld would be invaded. Their ground defenses were minimal compared to their space forces. Still, they fought fiercely to protect their capital. The streets of the city became battlegrounds. Coalition forces pushed forward block by block. General Morris coordinated the attack from a mobile command center, constantly adapting his strategy. Dr. Richard Thompson, creator of the Worldbreaker countermeasure technology, watched the battle from a secure location. He had never wanted his inventions to be used for war, but the Akrelians had left humanity no choice. "Admiral Powell is asking about the Worldbreaker devices," his assistant said. 7 Akrelian ships carrying the weapons have been detected approaching from the outer system. Thompson closed his eyes briefly. "Tell her the countermeasures are ready. We can neutralize the weapons before they get close enough to use them." Specially equipped coalition ships moved to intercept the Akrelian Worldbreakers. Using Thompson's technology, they rendered the planet-killing weapons useless, protecting not just their own forces but the civilian population of Akrel Prime as well. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Zixthar received reports of the battle with growing horror. His mighty fleet was being defeated. Enemy forces were in the capital. His Worldbreakers had been neutralized. "Impossible," he whispered. "How could primitive humans do this to us?" His advisors urged him to flee, to escape to one of the backup worlds they had prepared. But the Emperor refused. "I will not run from lesser beings," he declared. Director Christopher Davis of the Human Intelligence Service had anticipated this. For years, his agents had infiltrated Akrelian society, learning their ways and weaknesses. Now, those agents activated rebellion cells across the remaining Imperial worlds. As coalition forces approached the palace, reports came in of uprisings on dozens of Akrelian planets. The Empire was collapsing from within as well as without. General Morris led the final assault on the palace. The fighting was brutal but brief. The Imperial Guard fought to the last soldier, but they were overwhelmed by the combined might of 6 species fighting together. When Morris reached the throne room, he found it empty, except for the body of Emperor Zixthar. Rather than be captured, he had taken his own life according to ancient Akrelian tradition. "The palace is secured," Morris reported. "The Emperor is dead." The news spread quickly throughout the coalition fleet. After 10 years of war, it was over. The Akrelian Empire had fallen. In the days that followed, the Akrelian High Council surrendered unconditionally. High Ambassador Stephanie Roberts, representing humanity and the coalition, accepted their surrender in a formal ceremony broadcast across the galaxy. "Today marks the end of the Akrelian Empire," she declared, "but not the end of the Akrelian people. They will have a place in our new galactic community as equals rather than rulers." The terms were firm but fair. The Empire would be dissolved. All subjugated worlds would be granted independence. War criminals would face justice. And a new galactic council would be established with equal representation for all species. 1 month later, on a rebuilt Earth, President Brooks addressed humanity and their allies. The scars of war were still visible, but healing had begun. 10. Years ago, aliens came to our world and ordered us to kneel, she said. They believed we would submit out of fear. They were wrong. Humanity does not kneel to tyrants. She paused, looking out at the representatives of dozens of species, including Akrelians who had opposed the Empire from within. But neither do we seek only destruction. We fought not just against something, but for something. A galaxy where all beings can live in freedom, where no empire can enslave others, where we stand together as equals. The Galactic Confederation was born that day, founded on principles of freedom, cooperation, and mutual respect. Humanity, once an isolated species on a single planet, now stood at the center of a new era. Admiral Powell, watching the ceremony, thought of all those who had sacrificed their lives to reach this moment. The Akrelians had never understood what they awakened when they threatened Earth. They had expected submission but found something else entirely, the indomitable human spirit. They ordered Earth to kneel, she whispered to herself. Instead, we taught the stars what it means to be human. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, beings looked up at the night sky with new hope. The age of empire was over. The age of freedom had begun.